Hi, I'm Danielle McGuire. I'm with Mindfully Balanced Wellness. I'm a holistic health and life coach, Reiki practitioner, and a numerologist. I'm here for chapter 3 with Liette, where we're going to be talking about your post healing from your traumatic experience with the psychotherapy.
Yes. So I guess where we left off is I got home. We ended that there.
Yep, we ended it because at that point in time I felt like you just had enough with your story there and it was time for a break.
Yes.
So
Anyway, so I came home and I went to a couple of local mental health people to try to get help and stuff, and they put me on, depression medication or whatever. But then I think first initially, my mom they wanted to keep me for inpatient care at the Harrisburg Institute of Psychology, which is now closed. I don't know if you remember that place.
I don't, but when I used to work for Pinnacle, it's a building that they now house for something else. So
right.
Yeah, I know the building you're talking about.
So and I couldn't do in-house, so I had to go for intensive daily treatment for, what was it, 3 months straight, like 8 hours a freaking day, right? Which I did, which was crazy.
So
I really don't know that it helped.
So when you were in there for the 8 hours a day, what were you doing? Like, what did your 8-hour day consist of?
Well, you went into groups, and there's a lot that's blank, and I'm sorry about that right now, but you'd have to go in groups and you'd talk about whatever happened. Then a lot of it was just another one was when I went in this one room by myself, and they had this big life-size doll in there, and they took me back to a memory, and I completely just destroyed the doll. They told me to just do what I needed to do, and I destroyed it. I mean, that was pretty intense. That was and a lot of it was therapy, and then they added all kinds of psychological drugs, the mind-altering drugs into it, the ones that keep me sedated and stuff, because I had things that would just trigger me out of nowhere, and then after I was done with that, then I was able to get my first apartment in Dallas town, and that apartment, there was no furniture, there's no dishes, no sheets, but it was my apartment. I slept on the floor, and I was a manager at Tia's Tacos restaurant. It's a Mexican food restaurant way back then, in the 80s. So I managed that, and then worked my way up, and got my furniture and did all that stuff, and took singing lessons and was singing in band and stuff. And then what happened? Then I kept calling about McCrory's, about getting a job at McCrory's, because I wanted to move up. And so it back then you would call places for jobs, right?
Back then you had to call, you had to go in person, you had to fill out actual paper, and
right. So I would call every week, the same guys every week for like 6 weeks, 2 months straight, and finally there was an administrative position open for vice president, and I said, yeah, I'll take that, So during that is when I created the McCrory Store's first point of sale system. I programmed it, and then wrote the training manual and trained all the executives and store people all over the country and the East Coast. And then I got a trip to Egypt, Israel, Greece, and Turkey as a bonus for writing that. So anyway, beyond that, that's where I met my my husband, Kevin, was McCrory's, because then I got out of, I was in, let's see, I started at the snack bar as a manager at the snack bar. That's right. I'm sorry. I'm a little.
No, that's fine.
I'm sorry about that. I started with McCrory's as food manager, as a food manager at William Tally House cafeteria. Is where I started, and then I had my own snack bar, and they wanted me to go into store management. Wasn't interested, and that's where I met my husband Kevin, because he was into store management. Okay. Then I went into the administrative assistant, and then to microsystems analyst is where I went to into McCrory's home office after that. But so anyway, I met my husband Kevin there, and we got married. Now he never knew my history for some reason, which I don't think it's a good idea to ever do. Is I think people need to understand your history to understand what's going on with you, or maybe why you might act out in certain ways.
Right.
Because back then I didn't even know how to speak for myself. Okay. Like him, all right. Now see, this is a really crazy mixed up mess, all right, kind of. Because it was, I was married into money, Penfield Feed, and his brother, Donnie, and his wife, Sherlyn, you know, one time I caught my husband, Kevin, and Sherlyn kissing, and I said something to Donnie. I said, hey, man, I said, you know, what's up with that? And he just shrugged it off and said, oh, they've always done that, and went back to watching his baseball. Well, it bothered me, but because of how I understand it now.
Right.
Okay, back then I didn't, because I didn't know what to say. All I knew I'm supposed to be quiet. I couldn't say a word.
Right.
You know, and so that went on. We got married, and I don't know, it seemed distant, and then we were at New Year's Eve one night. And she, Sherlyn, had said to me, you know, people of our stature, a lot of times on New Year's Eve, we do swaps. Okay, I didn't know.
Right.
Okay, I'm freaking oblivious at this point, because I have no clue about anything at this point.
Right.
Right. So I'm like, oh, so I thought it was fun. They were doing cocaine and stuff. And I thought, oh, well, isn't this fun? And I said, oh, well, should I say something? And she starts laughing. She goes, well, if you do, I'll just deny it, and they won't believe you. And I'm like, why wouldn't my own husband believe me? Right? So I thought, well, they came in. Kevin and Donnie came in. And next thing I know, I said something. I said, oh, well, are we doing swaps tonight? And they looked at each other. I said, well, Sherlyn's brought it up. And they didn't believe me at all. At all.
Oh, wow.
And then it happened. And then from there, something happened. We separated. And Sherlyn had talked me into going to the beach because the guys, Donnie and all of them, had gone to the beach.
Right.
And she had talked me into going down with her. And hell, I mean, and after we get there, right, and I was thinking, well, maybe I could talk to Kevin, because we never did talk. We never did finalize anything. I never did. We were never able to what do you call that when you have that ending?
Plan?
No.
Or ending.
All right, when you have closure.
Oh, closure. There you go.
Anyway, we get down there, and next thing I know, I find Kevin and Sherlyn in the bedroom kissing and necking all over the place. I'm like, what the hell is this shit, man? So then, you know, divorce happened. Now, granted, I was not the perfect wife. I did not know how to be a wife. I will admit that. I didn't know how to even really speak or look. I didn't want to be touched. You know, I felt, you know, I didn't want to be touched at the time.
Right.
And, you know, when he came home from trips and stuff, he wanted, you know, to be intimate right away. I'm like, man, no, I'm not a switch. You can't turn me off and on. You know.
I'm sure their touch kind of probably felt like a burn, or just very sensitive to the touch.
Well, it's just like, it's just, I needed the emotional connection again, because if you're gone for a couple days, that emotional connection for me is gone. So you need to reestablish that, and that never happened. And I, of course, I didn't know how to speak. I didn't know how to, I was still healing, trying to figure myself out.
And with the post-trauma, you know, and what you went through in the post-trauma, that also causes you not to want to be touched.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so, so that year, now all this all happened in 1 year, right? No, we were together for many years, almost 10, I think. But, so this all happened in 1 year. He told me he wanted a divorce. Okay. Then my job, which I was a microsystems analyst at the time, told me that they were doing permanent layoffs because they were in the process of closing McCrory's down. And, you know, so permanent layoff. And then I was told that I needed a total hysterectomy.
Oh, wow.
And so divorce, permanent layoff, and total hysterectomy on 1 year, I had a total nervous breakdown.
Absolutely.
I had a nervous breakdown. And I was devastated by my divorce. Nobody realizes that. I mean, it was the worst hurt.
Yeah. It's okay.
I screwed it up because I didn't know how to be a wife, I think. So,
I think the one thing that you said that's really important, if you were to glean anything, is the main thing that you learned walking away from that is that you have to be forthcoming with your trauma and share, even though it's uncomfortable or it may feel dirty or violating, or when you become one with that individual, we need to be honest, even with the good, bad, and the ugly.
Yeah, and that's hard for me to do.
Yeah.
I mean, I picture to do that with you.
Yeah. I mean, I know for myself, I was molested when I was 5 by a 16-year-old boy when I was he was babysitting me. And there was a lot with that, you know, you hold on. I mean, I was 5 years old and you remember things. And when I started dating my husband, at the time, when that came to that period in our relationship, it wasn't easy to talk about that stuff, you know, but I feel like thankfully he was open to hear about it, so he knew how to handle me. Not handle me, but treat me. And he was aware, like you say, because you never know what your reactions are going to be. So he was aware of those reactions. But you can't feel guilt for yourself because it was nothing you did wrong. You didn't do anything wrong.
Well, looking back, I wasn't the standard one. So anyway, yeah. So, coming out of that, nervous breakdown. You know, and I was offered a job with Blue Shield doing programming for Blue Shield, analyst type work, and turned that down because I wasn't even thinking right. You know, what the hell is wrong with me? Why did I do that? But I did. And that's c'est la vie. It is what it is.
But then let's go back one more way, because not only did you have that, you talked about your hysterectomy, and you kind of glossed over that. that was so minor. But when you look at the big picture of your mental health, okay, so you're already going through your mental health, which is going to be directly affected also by the divorce and whatnot. Now you're losing the one form of you that makes you a woman. Right?
Yeah, we tried 3 years. I had 5 major surgeries, several minor surgeries, all kinds of artificial inseminations. We were on the test tube list, which I was rejected because I was too messed up inside. So it was 3 years of fertility injections daily and freaking all that shit too, only to be told that you know, after going through all of that, you will never be able to get pregnant. You need a total hysterectomy. Total. made me feel like an it.
But then look
Like
at
I
it.
wasn't worthy,
Mm-hmm.
even though I was pure at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, no, I didn't do drugs, I didn't smoke, I didn't do alcohol. I had a great job, which was a permanent layoff, but
People don't, a lot of times I feel like until you've gone through it, through trying to get pregnant and having failing pregnancies and stuff like that, people just don't understand. Like everybody looks at motherhood and parenthood and getting pregnant as such a beautiful, fun time, but no one thinks about all the attempts that we go through trying to get pregnant, you know, and how
3 years of
devastating,
it.
and how devastating
And fighting
it is.
with insurance and all that shit was crazy. It was horrible.
Mm-hmm. So then now we take the hysterectomy out of it and we talk about hormones. So now you have the natural thing that regulates your hormones.
Well, yeah, and I refused the pills
Mm-hmm.
because, and so I went through forced menopause at
Mhm.
30 years old. Yeah, so, but the nice thing about that is I didn't have my period no more.
Right.
I
That
didn't have to
is
buy-
the beauty of
I
it.
didn't have to buy the sanitary
Mhm.
products and go
Mhm.
with the smells and all that stuff.
Mhm.
So that was the beauty of it that I was able to rejoice in,
Right.
you know.
But
So I
still
always
you have,
tried to look at the brighter side of
Yeah.
things.
but even going through that, adding that on, the chemical changes of our brain that happens when we have a hysterectomy, because you know your testosterone and stuff like that affects your moods. So on top of that, already being sad and depressed and grieving.
That took me to a very angry point in my
Mhm.
life.
Mm-hmm.
An angry point that I didn't know where to release at. And that's when I really got involved with band life. I had my own sound system, the big stacks, the 24 channel boards, monitor system, the mics and all that stuff, and light show, everything. I had it all. I mean, amp racks, I had it all. And was able to wire it up and run it too. I was good.
I'm not surprised with you.
But the thing too is I got involved with bands. I was
Mhm.
singing, lead singer. The first band I got involved with was heavy metal, hard rock, heavy metal, very heavy
Mhm.
metal. Did a lot of Metallica and stuff like
Mhm.
that, which was where I needed.
That's where your anger was
that's where
going.
I'm an emotional singer,
Mm-hmm.
so I need that release for me. So I started with my heavy metal, and then I moved into classic rock, hard rock, classic rock, some southern rock there. But while I was in the band, you know, sure we smoked a lot of weed, you know,
Mm-hmm.
but weed was kind of frowned on with musicians.
Mm-hmm.
We like cocaine.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where I started my cocaine addiction, because I didn't know at the time to look inside myself to heal,
Mm-hmm.
to get rid, I was trying to numb my hurt, numb
Mhm.
my pain, numb my thoughts. I just
Mhm.
wanted to feel good and happy and just, about,
Mhm.
you know, and cocaine did that for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I got addicted real bad, to the point, and I had some agents looking at me singing and found out about my cocaine addiction, and that was it. I didn't even get a second chance with any other musician ever again, because I had gotten in trouble. I got to the point with my addiction with cocaine and trying to numb all my hurts, that I couldn't sell my body to fund it, so I had to sell product. And that's how I got my double felony.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so, in the meantime, through my cocaine addiction, I lost my band, lost my sound system, because of cocaine, right? And then, and I lost my left eye, because I went to get some product 2 o'clock, 2:30 in the morning in the jungle part of the city. Got jumped in my MR2, my little red MR2, my fancy stuff that I used to have. When I used to have lots of money,
Mm-hmm.
it was very nice. I like having money. I'm very good at it. But I can adapt as well.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so in my MR2, trying to cop some product because I needed my fix.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I got jumped by a gang of blacks, and I was stabbed in the eye. My retina was sliced and bled out. They tried to take my car. They tried to take my money, which I don't know how I got away. I really don't. Some other force came over me, which does seem to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
You were here for a purpose.
And I got away, and so I finally got to the hospital, and next thing I know, I'm seeing all white, and the doctor kept saying, "What's going on? What do you see?" I said, "Well, all white," and then all of a sudden, everything went completely black in my left eye, completely black, and that was it. That's all I see now. In my left eye is just black. So if you don't see this eye, I'm not ignoring you.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't see you.
Right.
Yeah, and so that was an adjustment to get used to, and to get through that, and to then after that to have lived in the city around gangs and stuff and shootings. So that was all very desensitizing.
Yeah.
You get used to stuff after a while.
Now, was it in New York City, Harrisburg, York City?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Wow.
York isn't all that, yeah.
No, but it's better than Baltimore City, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, that's where you came to Baltimore. So then I got those felonies, and I worked with the DA, and turned some people in, which I was dealing with some New York, they threatened my life.
Mm-hmm.
I had one cop gave me his card and said, "If you have any trouble, if you get any threats, you call me right away." Well, I came home a couple times, my lights were out at my porch and all that kind of stuff, and I told him. So he made a visit, and then that stopped.
Mm-hmm.
But then, so I did a week in jail, and then a couple months with the thing on my ankle.
Oh, you got one of those pretty bracelets?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. But then that was my trigger point for changing my life, because I can't be locked up.
It was interesting because when you say you can't be locked up, it makes me go back to when we started talking in the very beginning about when you went in for psychotherapy, and you said, "I can't do inpatient. I couldn't do inpatient." And I sat there, and immediately I thought, you can't, because that's just a form of locking you up and controlling you yet again, because that's how you were manipulated, was through control and isolation. So it makes sense that you couldn't do an inpatient treatment plan, because that's just isolating you again and putting you in a controlling environment, which is what is going to trigger you. You needed to have some form of control over yourself and your life.
You're good. I like that. But can you remember where we stopped for today?
Yeah.
I think
Yeah. It's a lot. And even though when you were also apologizing in the beginning, you're like, "I'm sorry, I can't," you got to realize your brain is protecting you, and there's going to be spots that aren't going to line up for you and that aren't going to make sense for you. And that's because that's your self protecting you. It's going to come out, but it's just doing it in times that it knows, in drips and dribbles. So however long this takes us to get you through, we'll get there, because that's how I think we've talked metaphysical too, because since we've started this, you started having some physical symptoms, and it was funny because I reached out, and one of the areas was your pancreas, and and everything that we're talking about metaphysically, that is an organ it comes out in. So I feel like as we talk, that's part of your healing. this is what you have to get the yuck out.
I like that. You gotta get the yuck out.
Yeah, you gotta get the yuck out. And you've been holding on to this for how many years now?
A life.
Yeah, this has been your story. So imagine everything you've been through to heal yourself up to this point. Imagine how much better you're going to feel once you've completely talked it all out.
You think?
I think you're going to finally lift that. You're a very light person to begin with because of everything you've gone through, but I feel like this is going to lighten you. This is going to be that final, like, you're going to breathe. You're going to be able to breathe again. I just feel like you can breathe once this is done. Like, okay.
Yeah, because
And it makes sense now of certain things I've observed on how you've responded to certain things in the past. Like, was someone coming to the door and you weren't sure and you immediately had that one reaction. Now I understand. Now, you know what I mean? Like,
you mean I got my protection tool?
Yes. But it makes sense now because you, having been jumped, having been attacked like that, knowing the past of again, standing up to do the right thing, even though you may have been on the wrong side of the road, still trying to do the right thing to come out, the justice side of it. You know, that is your protection. Like, you still have that, and those things are still there. So you don't necessarily need to worry about it right now, but it's enough that I've observed you where when there are people that you care about, you go into that natural protective mode.
It just happens.
Yes, it does. It does. But yeah. So we'll pick up next time. Where are we going next time?
So where were we? My mind just blanked.
We were talking about being when you were jumped and everything and you lost your eye. We got up to and living in this city. So that's as far as we got.
Okay, I didn't live in the city yet.
Oh, okay. We hadn't gotten there.
So let's we'll end it at losing my eyesight. Okay.
And then we'll pick it up from there.
Yeah. Alrighty. Well, thank y'all.
Thank you, guys.